Hello again. Big chapter. Got my tissues ready. This is going to be a tough one. This is going to be a tough one. I might have to get up and get more. Off the road, on the path. Quote, "What happens if you silence the alarm? You keep sleeping." End quote. The prophet from the Harbinger. 2 weeks before I was supposed to start massage school, and 5 days before I was to go to the studio to get my headshots, the universe intervened. Stopped me in my tracks, literally. That was August. I was driving home, and some idiot decided he couldn't wait 5 seconds for me to get by before he just had to turn into Dairy Queen. That is the only reason I remember where the accident happened, because that was my last thought. This huge jacked up pickup turned in front of me, hitting me in my little Toyota pickup head on and pulled me into the next lane, or to the lane next to me. I had just come through the intersection, so I had not gotten up to full speed, thank goodness. The moron started to turn. Then I saw him nosedive as if he changed his mind, hitting the brakes. I was too close. I hit my brakes, but then he hit his. But when he hit his, I was putting my foot back over to the accelerator. Apparently he thought he could make it after all, with me only a few yards away, so he gunned it and tried to turn anyway. And something's making noises over here. Sorry. When he pulled into me, when he pulled me into the other lane. Sorry, I'm already getting choked up. When he pulled me into the other lane, another car ran up underneath me from behind. I did not even know about the other car until a month later. All I remember of the impact was the slow motion of the other vehicle making contact with my front end. Then I was out. When I came to, I was lying on the seat on my side, holding my nose with one hand and the other out in the stop position. Sorry. My left leg was up on the seat, and my right leg was bent in an odd position, like I was still sitting up. The pain in my face was unbelievable. As I looked at my bent leg, I'll get detailed. I could see a hole the size of a quarter on, I could see a hole the size of a quarter on the side of my knee. And I swear I saw a bone in the kneecap. But no blood. At least not at that point. There was a strange silence for a few seconds. Felt like forever. And then I heard voices outside of the truck. I heard someone say, "Should I call an ambulance?" And then another voice at my driver's side window say, "No, she's fine." I thought to myself, I know he's not talking about me. Hell yes, I need an ambulance. The guy opened my truck door, sat on the edge of the seat. As someone else asked, "Is she okay? Are you sure I shouldn't call for help?" The guy then slapped me on my hip, on my butt, and said, "Oh, she's fine." And then left the vehicle because I could feel it leave. If I had the strength, I would have punched the guy in the throat. This was the driver who had just hit me. I was trying to move, to scream, but the pain and stiffness consuming my body would not allow movement, and my rapidly swelling face would not allow enough sound to come out. Thanks to one of the witnesses, someone did call the ambulance. EMTs arrived in what felt like a decade, but was probably 15 minutes. There was another man that entered my truck. I'm not sure if it was a police officer or an EMT. But he was very kind, gentle, and spoke softly. He asked if I was okay, the first person to even ask, and what my name was. As I mumbled and tried to move, he saw the blood on my hand as I finally let go of holding my nose in place. Holding my nose in place. Yeah, that's what I felt. Yeah. I felt him flinch as he said, okay, just try to answer the best you can. And he proceeded to ask the standard questions. Do you have your driver's license with you? Where is it? In your purse? May I go in to get it? Do you have insurance? I then felt him gently lean over to retrieve my purse from the passenger side floorboard. I had a flashback to the Dairy Queen thought, and I had a fleeting thought. Thank God, there's a hospital right here. There was a hospital right across the street from, or actually I was right in front of the hospital. But apparently the lack of insurance, medical insurance, meant I was not welcome at the private Scottsdale hospital, just feet away. So it was off to the county hospital, which I found out later was like 35 or 40 miles away. Yay. The EMTs tried to be as gentle as they could, getting me out of the truck, and I tried to help as much as I could. I could not even lift my head up without help, but I did my best. I tried to help push myself out while two people pulled from the driver's side and one supported and pushed from the passenger side. I had like a bench seat. They placed me on one of those lovely backboards, then onto a gurney, placed a brace around my neck, then rolled me to the ambulance. Then, not so gently, actually violently, they retracted the wheels and shoved me into the back of the ambulance. I was holding my breath to help brace myself from the pain and to prevent drowning in my own blood. Sorry, it's graphic. An EMT then placed an oxygen mask on my face. That is when I knew there was some serious damage to my nose and face. I tried to let them know the mask was horrifically painful, to no avail. I tried to turn my head to knock it off, but the brace on my neck prevented that. Then we were off, sirens blaring. I was also strapped down, so I didn't put that in there. So I couldn't move. I couldn't reach to take it off. Bouncing around on the hard board as they drove was a whole new experience in pain. It was brutal. The mask on my face pounded with each bump in the road, and it felt like we were going over speed bumps constantly. I was having trouble breathing with an obvious broken, swollen nose and all the fluids draining into my throat. I was attempting to do little dolphin moves to get the mask off. I was like, sorry. It was not easy since I was strapped down, but I did manage to at least shift it over a bit. Got it moved to the side and a little higher to take some of the pressure off. I was trying to get someone's attention, anyone, attention to let them know I was drowning and could not breathe and was in pain. I wiggled my fingers trying to wave to them. Nothing. I think there were two people back there with me, but I could not see them at this point due to the swelling. I finally forced my head to turn about 1/4 of an inch. This was not easy with a neck brace. I just started spitting out as much as I could, but it just seemed as though I could not keep it up. I would get out as much as I could to get a quick breath. I guess who was ever with me was not looking in my direction at all. Finally, the pain, the fluid, the pounding on the backboard, it was all just too much. I started praying. Please, God. Whew, here we go. Sorry. Please, God, just let me die. I can't do this. I had a thought of my precious dog waiting for me at home and continued to pray. Please, God, protect my baby and take me now. Oh, God, please let me die. That was my last memory before I passed out until probably 20 or so minutes later. I think the drive was probably 40 minutes. And that's with them speeding. I don't remember getting to the hospital or being taken out of the ambulance, thank goodness, my first memory was hearing 1, 2, 3, and being lifted off the gurney and swung onto a softer one. It was such a relief to be off that hard board. I felt people moving all around me. I heard a distant voice explaining my situation. Car accident, front impact, lost consciousness, visible injuries. I could not make out all he was saying, with people moving in front of me and moving in front of the voice, monitors beeping, metal on the wheels rattling. Then a voice close to me, a doctor maybe, asks, So who said her nose? I could sense him over me. I was trying to strain my eye to open, but only got a glimpse of a light being blocked out by something. The distant voice spoke again and said, None of us. We just... And I could not make out what else he said. The voice close to my head said, Well, somebody did. It must have been me or someone, which would explain why when I came to, I felt like I was holding my nose on. Seriously? I was like, doing the stop, like protecting myself. Laying down. The next round of poking and prodding was awful, but nowhere near as bad as the ambulance ride. That was awful. I'm not sure how long the group spent poking me with needles and stitching me up. It seemed like slow motion and super speed at the same time. Then all of a sudden there was silence. Other than voices over an intercom in the distance, I heard nothing. My entire body was throbbing. It felt like my arms had trucks parked on them. I felt nothing below the waist, which would have freaked me out if I could have focused for even a second. My head felt 5 times bigger, and as though it were where the throbbing began. I tried to reach up and touch my face and head, but I was strapped at the elbow. I went as far as I could and finally got to where I could feel a good-sized knot on the left side of my head. I could feel the pain of another knot throbbing on the top, towards the back of my head as well. As I was trying to feel around, someone came in. He saw what I was doing, and I felt the breeze of him rushing to pull my hand away. He asked very sweetly if he could do something. I attempted to ask for ice for my head, but I could not even recognize the sounds coming out of my giant face. Luckily for me, this guy was a pro at dental chair speak. He responded as I am grunting and pointing. Your head? Something for you? Oh, ice for your head. Sure, I'll be right back with an ice pack. Within seconds, he had the pack on my head. Of course, it was not where the knot was, but it felt amazing. I eventually got to where I could shift it around. I just wish I had had the ice pack for my entire body. I wish I had seen the guy's face and knew his name so I could thank him. You have no idea how grateful I was to have that ice pack. Oh yeah, yeah. The joys of lacking insurance meant I was out of there as soon as someone could pick me up. People would come in periodically to ask if there was anyone else they could call, since several messages had been left for my housemate and my manager at work. I think these hospital people were getting impatient, trying to get me out of their way. I don't know when, but at some point I had been moved to a private room. And I guess they needed it for a paying customer, although they got paid very well after the settlement. Me, not so much. Finally, I heard a familiar voice coming towards the room. I heard my housemate talking to someone who was telling them about my injuries. The voices were closer, like right outside the door. Then silence. Thanks to the ice, my head had shrunk down enough to open my eyes to a slit. As I did, I realized my housemate was standing there just staring at me. He just took a deep breath, and I asked, "Is it that bad?" in my garbled way. He just said it would be okay. Then 2 people came in with a wheelchair to roll me out. As I tried to stand up, I dropped. Luckily, they had my arms and they guided me to the chair. Between the pain and the dizziness from the blood loss, I could not do it on my own. Sorry. As I was upright, my nose started pouring. And one of the orderlies grabbed me some tissues. All I could do was use them to catch what was coming. I could not press on my nose to stop it. Once home, I was grateful for my little dog. Oh, my little saving grace. Little Dax man. He immediately knew something was up and moved as slow and gentle as he could around me. My housemate, on the other hand, was not so nice. Let's just say that in the previous weeks, he had begun showing his true colors, and they were not pretty. In his defense, however, he did pick me up that night, 11 hours after they called him, as it turned out. And he picked up some medication for me and brought me food. Of course, I could not eat. My mouth would barely open enough to get a straw in it. And then I couldn't actually work it to suction with a straw. So he would just eat the food in front of me. Yeah. Not that I was all that hungry. I was still really queasy from all the drainage. And after a couple days, the thought of food hurt a bit. Then he would bring me milkshakes, thinking that would be easier for me. But I could not make the face and mouth cooperate with the straw. The best I could do was use a spoon, or use the straw as a spoon, and wipe little bits of the ice cream on my tongue and swallow it. I would usually give up after about 10 minutes, and he would then take it and finish it. And leave me there. I had way too much time to think over the next few weeks. The thought that played most was, why did I live? There must be a reason. I had always thought that everything happened for a reason. Oh, I've always thought that. I still do. Everything happens for a reason and for the best somewhere, even if we don't see it in the moment. There must be a reason. Now I was begging to know it. And I believe that things happen for the best. I cannot explain how I knew this all of a sudden, especially when I could not see any good from this at that point. I kept hearing myself say, "You were here for a reason, for something more important." Even though I would not look at my face in a mirror for probably over a month, it says almost a month, I knew my aspirations of a career or even a life based on my looks was over, which is a good thing. So I would wonder if the teaching thing was what I was supposed to do. Then I would hear it again. You were here for a reason, for something more important. Since I was apparently here for a reason, I needed to focus on healing. The next session of massage school was coming, and I wanted to get in as soon as I could since I had missed my original start date. I knew I had to do something to help myself heal faster, so I would choke down vitamins since I could still not really eat. I figured rest was good for healing, and fortunately, I had all kinds of time for that. The housemaid only helped the first 2 days. Then he would leave early in the morning and not come home until early the next morning. Then he would hide in his room. I could crawl to the bathroom by then, although that would take a while considering I only had one leg to work with. Scooching. My arms were painful and weak, even though they looked like Popeye's arms. Seriously, I've got pictures. I was hoping, I can't log into Facebook. They're on my business Facebook page, so if you search Angel Presence Healing Center on Facebook, I posted them. Probably don't want to see them on here. My forearms were swollen like I had grapefruits under my skin. Once I got up on the toilet, I did my thing. I could pull myself up using the sink because it was right next to it. Then I could hold myself up against the wall to get to the kitchen and to the back door to let my puppy out. He needed a potty break too. Thank goodness he was patient and could hold it. Which is true. Good times. And then the next one is fun too. It's a continuation. But we're going to stop there. My battery's died. Thank you for watching.